Why do I love vintage stereos so much? Let me start from saying vintage stereos, the looks, that vintage looks, and the brown color that it makes the speakers and receiver looks very cool. And that's how I really love vintage stereos, not only because of the looks, not only because the price people are saying, because it's low price compared to modern stereos. Guys, it's not all about that. Vintage stereos I really like, and what I really love about vintage stereos, it's because of the sounds. Okay, it's two things that I really love vintage stereos, and let me explain it to you. It's because of the looks and the sounds. The vintage stereos I grew up with when I was very young, and my father has a turntable. I mess around with it. I opened it. I opened the speakers. I look in the back. I saw this gigantic speaker with a huge magnet. And sometimes I opened radios when I was very young. And that's how I got into this. There is a story behind this why I love vintage stereos. Not that I'm trying to copy anybody or want to be somebody or I want to be like this guy, that guy. This is about vintage stereos that I love when I was very young, in the young age. And I grew up with it, and that's why until today I love vintage stereos. Now, as you can see, those Sansuis, they're very hard to find nowadays, and I don't see this anywhere where I live in my town. Not even once. Only these two speakers that I saw in the store, and I said to myself, I really want to have these two speakers, the Sansui, because they're very rare, they're very cool, the sound quality is amazing, and it's hard to find, and it's Sansui. Beautiful speakers. As you can see here, I have AR speakers, and I have two more speakers over there, and they sound amazing. And I have a Sansui turntable, a Sansui's amplifier, Marantz receiver, and turntable over there. And I still have turntable down there, and a Pioneer. As you see, guys, I'm a music lover, and I love the sounds of the stereos from the 70s. Even here, I have Marantz, and over here, I have the Sansui. Amazing sounds, amazing looks, and that's why I have to have it. So this story of vintage stereos, this vintage stereos I have, very, very different from my stereos many, many years ago. And the time comes, and years, everything changed. I replaced my old receivers from 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and I replaced it with a different one. In other words, we all do upgrade. We all want to have good stereos, and we want to taste the good sounds. We want to taste the good brands. We want to have the good stereos. But these stereos, guys, if you compare this to other stereos from other collectors, to be honest, this is nothing. But they are still good stereos. It's because they're Marantz and there's Sansui, AR, Sansui, and other stuff that I have. So today's video, I just wanna tell you guys my story, how I started, how I grew up with vintage stereos. I never tried to copy anyone out there. I don't want to be like that guy or that guy. I don't want to compete or anything like that. This is just part of my life. It's part of my hobbies because I grew up with this stereos, with records, vinyl records, and I just, it just amazes me. And when I grew up, and even high school, I start liking music already. I won singing with another girl. We were in high school. We were doing duets. We won. And it's just that, I guess it's in me. High school, love music already. I love the 80s, 90s, and even today. So it's just part of my life. It's part of being me to have different types of stereos. Some other people, guys, they collect and they start collecting and they start buying because they see it from other people, from other vloggers, from other YouTubers. But they maybe not 100%, you know. Today's world, they seen a lot of videos about vintage stereos, modern stereos, and they start, maybe copying other people. Maybe they start, filming, blogging, spending their money because they seen other people with very nice vintage stereos and they start filming. But it's not really into their body that they really love stereos. So today's world, there's so many fakers, so many wannabe, so many, maybe because of the money, because they want to get paid, but honestly, me, I grew up with stereos. Since when I was a kid, I already admire stereos, and I start building speakers. I built a small speaker box, and I put a speaker in the middle. I put a hole in the middle and screw it, and screwed all around it, so the speaker will hold to the wood. And then I have those small wires, and then I connected positive and negative, and I made my own speakers. Because back many years ago, back in those days, I was very young. I couldn't afford to buy. I don't have money. I was just a kid, So I had to improvise. I had to make my own, so I can have a good sounds. And I connected to the radio. I opened the small radio. I connected the positive, negative to that small speakers, and go into that speaker. And thank God, the radio, did not get damaged. And I enjoy listening to it. Even the sound wasn't really great, but I made my own speakers, because when you're a kid, you don't have money, you don't have work, so you have to make your own. You have to build your own speakers or sounds, or your small radio, or whatever it is, because you cannot afford to buy nice speakers and Marantz or Sansui. You can't, buy it at all, So even you ask your parents, they're not gonna spend maybe what, $300, $400 for speakers, and almost $1,000. And even sometimes those kids, they ask for like, Marantz or Macintosh, or just like a Christmas gift or a birthday gift, But many years ago, you know, parents cannot, give that expensive audios to their kids, because it's expensive. And if they're raising their own kids, if you have, two brothers and sisters, and so your parents has to feed them, you have to, they have to send them to school, elementary, and then high school, and then college, you know what I mean? But many years ago, I remember, this vintage stereos, it's expensive. It's expensive already, Only today, because people earn good money now, good salary, and they can afford it. So today it's totally different. But even though today, guys, if you buy this in eBay, it's still gonna cost you money, It's not gonna be more than 1,000, but still, if it says 400, 500, it's kind of expensive already, and you got to pay for shipping, and let's say 350, 400. Yeah, that's not cheap, and that's not cheap. So even though, but still, you can still buy it when you make good money, when you work full time. You can buy it, in Europe, guys, there's a lot of speakers in Europe, a lot of receivers, a lot of different brands, and some of those stereos is cheaper than United States. Some is expensive than United States. Okay. Some other cereals, it's cheaper in Asia. You know, it's expensive in Japan. Maybe in Indonesia, maybe it's cheaper. In Thailand, in the Philippines, etc., etc. In Asia. But Europe and America, it's, you know, they compete. You know, there's a lot of stereos here in the United States, very expensive. A lot of stereos in Europe, it's very expensive. Some of the stereos in Europe, it's cheaper than United States. There's some stereos here in the United States cheaper than Europe, because the equivalent of $1 is $1.50 in Europe. So it's more expensive there, but it doesn't mean that it's always expensive there. Okay, dollars can be expensive. In the United States, it's expensive. If you live in New York, you live in Boston, you live in California, you live in New Jersey, these are expensive states, and there's more. So it doesn't mean, you know, when you say Europe, it's, you know, expensive than United States. That's not 100% correct. U.S. is expensive country, and so is Europe, you know. So the stereos in Europe, a lot of good stereos in Europe, a lot of good stereos in America, a lot of good stereos. It's made in Japan and sent it here in the United States and sent it to Europe. And they sell those stereos. Many, many years ago, even the vintage stereos is already expensive. Many, many years ago. Somebody told me that. Another collector, an older guy, and a retired guy told me, back in those days when we were young, vintage stereos, it's expensive. It's not easy to afford. It's not easy to have. They are not cheap. But there's some stereos cheap many, many years ago, he told me. But not Marantz, not Sansui, not Pioneer. Pioneer, I'll show you guys Pioneer right there. Many, many years ago, that Pioneer, it's not cheap. Today, you can say that it's okay. It's because today's world, people can make money. People can make good salary. People can make good, you know, extra income compared to many, many years ago, back in the 70s. Okay? That is why today people can afford Sansui's, Marantz, Pioneer, Lafayette, Aquaphase, Harman Kardon, Luxman, Bose, Sony, you name it, Akai Techniques, JVC, Realistic, many, many more. Because today you can work overtime and you can buy these things. But in the 70s, guys, it's not easy to buy this. But they bought it. You compare that today, many, many years from the 70s, when they bought it, you know, today you might think, oh, that's cheap, you pay $150. But back in the day, in the 70s, that's expensive already. That is why the Sansuis, today in Marantz. The Sansus from 80 dB or 90 dB, they cost a couple thousands of dollars now. Marantz, some of them are more than 1,000, you know. Macintosh, more than 1,000, couple thousands, you know. So today's world is way different from the 70s. You know, that's the same thing with the cars. They keep going up and up and up. The price keep going up. 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. They're making Tesla now, electric cars, and it costs $60,000, $80,000, $100,000. You buy a Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, close to 100,000. SUV, Mercedes-Benz, SUVs, you know. So everything is just business and making money. But to me, guys, even though today it's 2025, until we reach 2030, I will not spend thousands of dollars for my stereos. You know, even if I can afford it, I can use my American Express gold card, buy Macintosh high-end stereos. I don't want to, because when you retired, when we get old, this stereos, guys, we're not gonna need it. We're not gonna need it all. Those people that they collect a lot of stuff, a lot of heavy stereos, one day when they retired or they reach 80, 90 years old, these stereos, those stereos that they have, those high ends that they have, those thousands of dollars that they spend for stereos, they would no longer need it. Okay, because they care about their health more than the stereos. And that is the fact. That is real talk. And that is why I don't want to buy expensive stereos, even though I almost gonna buy the Macintosh for $2,500, and I control myself, because I always think that one day when we reach to that age, 75, 80, 85, 90, these stereos, guys, trust me, believe me, a lot of people out there, they spend thousands of dollars. They probably regret now. And it's not easy to get rid of those expensive stereos. Even though when they sell it, even though somebody, buys it, they're not gonna get the full amount of money that they spend for those high-end stereos. They're gonna lose money. They're gonna depreciate, or the buyer will ask for a discount or lower the price, take it or leave it. The same thing with cars. Cars depreciate, the price goes down. Unless your car is Lamborghini, Ferrari, Bentley, Aston Martin. Those are different, types of cars that, you might depreciate a little bit, but still the price is there. So that is why I don't want to buy high ends. I don't want to even try. Not even one receiver, like buy a $3,000, $4,000 receiver. Even I can afford to buy that. I don't want to, because, man, I'm a collector, and I have a lot of stereos, from speakers to receivers, in the garage, in the music room, and it accumulates, guys, and it's not easy. It takes time to get rid of those stereos, Unless you have your own store, even you have your own store, you're still gonna wait for the right person to buy a $700 Marantz or $900 Marantz. It takes time. So me, I just live the way it is. Simple setup here, simple stereos I have, because I love vintage, and this is how I grew up with the vintage stereos. It's in me, it's inside me until forever. So that's the story of my life about vintage stereos, guys. About this stereos that people would think it's an old speakers, receivers, you know, because I wasn't born in the 90s. That is why I wasn't born in 2000s, you know. So I was born many years ago. So I grew up with it. It's in my blood, and I will take it forever. So that is the story of it, guys. And I just want to share my story about vintage stereos, why I love vintage stereos so much. So guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time. Click the subscribers, and I want to thank you for doing that, and take care, guys. For now, I say ciao ciao.